Varapanno.
Okay. It's Bhante. It's on my Skype anyway. Bhante G Varapanno. My name's Giorgio.
Yeah,
So yeah. So
Okay. All right. So let's try this again.
yeah.
Hello and welcome to this whatever it is. I am your host pannobhasa, and this is my special guest, Venerable Bhante G Varapanno, who is in Thailand, and he is a Theravada Buddhist monk who is almost a Thera. One more month, and he will be a venerable elder of the Theravadan Sangha. And we have started communicating and possibly collaborating, and this is our first experimental video where we are just stating our case, so to speak. So, hello, Bhante. I can bow
Hello, panel. I'm just gonna do this once for the record because I'm still gonna show honor to you for being a monk for 30 years. That's still very, very high honors there. This is still, especially for, I mean, you and I have talked about it, but for your viewers, yeah, this is really weird because Pano's been a monk for 30 years. I mean, that's a long time, and I'm just a little monk compared to Pano. So this is just such a strange situation right now. Well, I'll get over it, but just so you appreciate the situation.
Yeah, so we have started communicating partly because we feel the need to take a stand against what is happening to Buddhism, especially in the West. Although what's happening in the West is gradually creeping into the East also.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, this all started this all started because of that scathing attack from this global
Oh, you froze.
ADL. The ADL has now started to infiltrate Buddhism. And there, people are starting to write books called Buddhism is Too White. I mean, this kind of thing, this kind of thing startles me. I mean, do you think any of these people have actually sat down and done some meditation for 3 or 4 hours a day for like a year or two? Like, have they actually, are they actually practicing and observing the precepts? Are they actually understanding what anatta? Do they understand that the chitta, our mind, has no identity? And the second thing is they understand that perceptions are not self. The body is not self, right? So perceptions are not self. So whatever you perceive, and if you want to go into identity or race, whatever you perceive there, it's not self, because our perceptions pass away and the chitta itself has no identity. So how these people are bringing race and all these, you could say, microaggressions into Buddhism with their microaggression speaking, like we're doing all these different things about equality and sexuality, feminism, all this kind of stuff, when basically the practice is to destroy any sense of atta or self, like is to totally abandon it and totally dislodge it, throw it away from to allow our wisdom, our innate wisdom, our innate knowledge to come out. This is what kills me the most. I mean, this is what's causing me to come and talk to you about it and reaching out. It's like, what are these people talking about? Like, are they talking about Buddhism, or like what is this? Like, that's why I'm asking you, Pano, and everyone watching this video right now, whoever watches it, ask yourself, like, is that Buddhism? Like, is Buddhism saying to a group of white people, oh, if you want to practice Buddhism, you should inherently, you should understand your inherent racism and reflect on that? Because if you do that, that will take you to enlightenment.
Yeah, I don't think enlightenment is really the issue. Yeah, I mean for original Buddhism, I mean that was the point. But now for like what is called Buddhism in the West, it's more like a substitute for Valium or just feeling good about yourself, and really like the like this ultra liberal Western Buddhism resembles ultra liberal Western Unitarianism and ultra liberal Western Hinduism more than it resembles what the Buddha actually taught. It's just like Frankfurt School style mutated neo-Marxism that's just permeating all of the leftist movements, which and Buddhism in the West is mostly leftist because the conservatives and the traditionalists will be following Christianity or whatever. So it's
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, which is yeah, I guess so. So if you want to rebel, you become a Buddhist. Yeah, not a good choice, people. You can't rebel against the Buddha. That would just be a man. That's just a waste of time. I'm telling you, you cannot listen. Wisdom is real. Like practice is real. The Dharma is real. There's no rebelling there. There's just there's complete submission in a sense of because not self, the doctrine of anatta, just to be able to understand that. But I just don't understand how they can call it Buddhism and then preach about race equality and try to attack a race at the same time. So in other words, they're saying we are for race equality, but whites are assholes.
yeah. Yeah, well, if you read the article, that whole article in the Journal of Global Buddhism, I mean, they're referring to Buddhism mainly as just a sociological phenomenon. It's Buddhism is what Buddhists do, and so if you identify as a Buddhist, you can believe anything, and that's what Buddhism is. It's similar to if you're physically a female but you identify as male, then you're a male. It's just how if you're uh like a Marxist atheist and you identify as a Buddhist, then you're a Buddhist, regardless of the fact that you're really like some sort of secular materialistic Marxist or whatever it is. It's just however you identify. That's how they swing. And with regard
I
to
mean, everything you just said there, doesn't that seem like a cocktail of crap? Like, how much complication is there in that whole cocktail that you just discussed, that you just explained? Like,
yeah,
unbelievable. I couldn't get through the whole article. Like, not like I scanned the whole article and I'm reading. I just couldn't. It's just so much garbage coming out. Like you know what I've found with Marxism? They're always trying to create like the moral high ground to give them the reason to carry out. So in other words, you've done this and that and this and that, so I can call you an asshole, and everybody will agree with me to call you an asshole, but you have no right to call anybody an asshole, if you know what I mean, right? So
yeah,
this Marxism is very good. It's very clever at creating these like moral high grounds. It's kind of like giving you the position so you can. It's like Hollywood movies where they create the evil person. So then when the other person comes and shoots him in the head at the end of the movie, everybody claps. Like, this is because that person had the moral high ground. You see, this is all, I don't know. It's all a Marxist. I don't know if it's Talmudic or if it's, it's all communist agenda written. But basically, it's trying to create the moral high ground to substantiate and justify the course of action thereafter. And to start with, whites are racist, so therefore, and why should they all become Buddhists? Why are there white monks as Buddhists? By the way, do they understand that the Buddha said that one of the four dangerous things, one of the four dangerous things is a young monk? If you're mean to that monk, if that monk then develops the noble path in any way, the karma from that, the Buddha said, is just like very dangerous. It's not worth it. So, like, do they understand Buddha's teaching? Do they understand identity is a perception? Do they understand that? Like, or
do they
part of, like,
understand that all dukkha is self-inflicted?
Right. That too. I mean, that's a big bone to swallow, what you just to chew on what you just said too. Yeah, but ultimately, yes, that, you know, I mean, you know better than I do, and it's funny because for the people watching, just remember the context, people. Panno was a monk for 30 years, so he has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. Uh, like I'm going on to 10 years now, so um, just being a monk for 30 years, you know a lot of stuff for sure. So, I mean, I'm just ranting in the sense that like I'm airing my frustrations to you, Pano, just because like I'm kind of new to this and I'm just seeing it. But what I'm standing up for is just like they also attacked, not only they attacked you, that article, and attacked Brian Ruhi, which is a very nice person. But also Ajahn Jeff. I mean, did they dare? Did they not understand the wrath that's going to come after, like, to them for attacking such a noble monk, like a really
Ajahn
righteous,
Tanisara.
correct monk?
Yeah, Ajahn Tanisara, who's a very strict Dhammayut monk.
Yeah, like, what do you think? What's your take on Ajahn Jeff?
I really don't know him very well. I think he teaches a lot from his own experience, which is good, and he's definitely intelligent and a scholar, which is also good. I don't agree with all of his interpretations of Dhamma or Vinaya, but still, I'm glad that he's there.
Right, right. Well, one day we'll talk about what you don't agree with, because that's very interesting. I mean, he just to give a quick background, like he is very fluent in Thai and he's very fluent in Pali. So when he does his translations, he takes a bit from both. So you are probably coming from Pano's probably coming from the Burmese angle, which is different, I guess, in the Vinaya, maybe has different takes. Perhaps I'm not saying incorrect. I'm not saying incorrect. I'm just saying it's different, right? They're different takes. So perhaps that might be part of it. But my experience with Ajahn Jeff, he talks totally from experience. When he does his Dharma talks, he doesn't say, "Oh, on page 236, paragraph 3, the Buddha says this." You know, he really is a very experienced monk himself. Like, I've got a lot of time for him, and he writes. The thing I like about Ajahn Jeff, if you read any of his texts, at the end he's always saying, if you found anything wrong here or something that's not in line or not correct, please give me feedback so I can correct it. So he's like, he has a very strong editing let's say system in place for all his writings. Anything to do with Vinaya, you can certainly quote him and say, this is incorrect, and he'll definitely take a look at it. And he does this every year, actually. He's revised the monastic code for Buddhist monks. He revises that every year. He's been doing that probably for 15 years now.
Oh,
every
good.
year he revises it every year. Like so, because as you know, you can't just get it right, like just like that. Like, it takes a long time. But what's really interesting about him is he puts down the bibliography of where he makes corrections and stuff. So you have your own ability. Like, he always says, you have a look at the references and make up your own mind in the end. So in that sense, I mean, writing is difficult, like you can pull apart books from any angle. It's hard to get it right all the time. But I mean, did you experience studying Vinaya? Like, you can get into big brawls with other monks if you're not careful.
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, really, what you've got as the ultimate authority is just the Pali text itself. And then sometimes you can just interpret it in different ways. And there's no way of
Right,
really knowing for sure what the ultimate original correct interpretation was.
right. Well, that's right. You see, that problem is constant. That's never going away, And this is the issue a lot of scholars will always have. And that's why you know, there's the written Buddhist teaching, and then there's the experience, there's the practice of Buddhist teaching, which is you actually practice it, right? And that's what I wonder about these people that call themselves the Global Buddhist Society, which pretty much is, has got some, they quote the ADL. Now, what does the ADL have to do with Buddhism?
Well, yeah, I don't know. There's supposedly the Anti-Defamation League, so I'm not sure where the defamation is coming from. It seems like it's, uh, well, I assume it could be going in both directions, but yeah, I'm not really exactly sure what the ADL has done with regard to Western Buddhism, so I can't really say. But yeah, I mean
What I mean,
they've turned Buddhism into a postmodernist. They've interpreted it in accordance with postmodernism, which means that truth is just subjective. You know, it's just a cultural construct, and it's like constantly changing. And so they really don't care what the historical Gautama Buddha originally taught. But I do assume that a lot of them do meditate. Like a lot of Western Buddhists, I mean, that's pretty much all their Buddhism consists of is meditating. You know, how well they meditate is another question, but they do meditate. They just, and some of them actually will read some texts every now and then, but they will reject or ignore the parts that they don't like.
ah, convenient.
Yeah, well,
It's
that's
like
sort of the way
following
Western
Buddhist rules.
Buddhists
My
are.
rules make sense, but this rule doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of the way Western Buddhists are. I mean, the Eastern Buddhists are very dogmatic. So you get to the flat earth floating on water, or the talking animals, or the Buddha flying up into the air and spraying water out of one side and fire out of the other side. And, you know, they just accept it without question. You know, it says that the Buddha was 27 feet tall, so they just accept that. Whereas Westerners, we kind of are on the other side, you know, the other extreme, which is just we just reject or ignore anything we don't like. You know, anything that's inconvenient, we just you know, we have this tendency to ignore or reject that. Whereas there is like a middle path where, you know, you should accept the tradition. You know, you have zero right to actually change anything in the ancient texts, and you should understand what they say, and then you should own up to whether you're not accepting something. I mean, you may have good reason for not accepting something. Maybe you don't believe that, you know, the Buddha in a past life was a baby quail who averted a forest fire by making an utterance of truth. You know, it's like, but with regard to the basics, you know, like the Four Noble Truths and that sort of thing, then yeah, I mean, it's like if you don't like that, then maybe you should try a different religion instead of just changing the religion to suit yourself.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Because, like, you know, one of the beefs a lot of Westerners have that I've experienced is the no, you know, refrain from sexual misconduct and refrain from alcohol and drugs. You know, when it comes to that, that's where the buck stops. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, the sexual misconduct. You know, like, you know, because you know, this porn, sex work, you know, feminism. I can sleep with whoever I want, because that's basically what feminism is. I really don't even know what it is. Like I try to, you know, I have a daughter, so she's very militant on these things. So I got to be careful what I say. But in terms of Buddhism, I'm saying, like, you know, I'm a feminist. I can do whatever I want. Sure, okay, that's fine. So sexual misconduct doesn't apply to you. Um, uh, you know, like, the thing is like, is having a lot of partners and sleep around, being very irresponsible for your intimate nature of yourself, is that really healthy for you and really healthy for others? When you try to talk about these things, I find that there's a lot of hostility towards it, instead of trying to understand what the Buddha's saying, especially when you go even further up into the 8 or the 10 precepts, where the Buddha goes even like just refrain from any sexual activity completely, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't say sexual activity is evil, like for lay people. I mean, there's many lay people that were around in Buddha's day who had sex. We all understand that, okay, people? But there is a way there is a correct way and there is an incorrect way, and that's what. But when you try to explain this to a lot of people, which I've come across myself, you tend to get a lot of a very hostile reaction, especially to some people who, when you say that porn is just no good, or abortion is no good, things like this, like, you know, these kind of topics, they're so hot on the press in Western society, like, you know, people are willing to, you know, that punch you in the face kind of thing. Then when it comes to alcohol, for example, you know, I always get this, but I only have one glass a day, or like I only have one glass when I have dinner on Friday night with my friends.
Mhm.
So people are just trying to justify their habits, and I'm like, okay, but look at this, you know, alcohol, can you stop at one glass? You know, are you sure you can stop at one glass? Now, you buying alcohol supports the alcoholic industry. Is alcohol good for society as a whole? Like these kind of discussions, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think in terms of even the 5 precepts, just 5 precepts, a lot of people, you know, not killing seems to be okay,
Yeah.
unless you kill cockroaches, but killing flies, mosquitoes, cockroaches is okay.
Yeah.
You know, the not taking what's given, that one's pretty strong. That one seems to have very little problem.
Yeah.
It's like
I think that's
stealing.
about it though, but because I mean, always telling the truth, I mean, that's just so damned inconvenient that I mean, almost nobody in the West can do that one. You know, it's like, you know, it's like
Yeah,
I'd like to, but I can't, when really you can't just flat out tell the person who's invited you over for dinner, well, I just don't want to hang out with you tonight, you know. Or yep,
well,
you're
on
sorry.
that, on that, there is something interesting though, um, because you know, actually, that's a really good point. Um, I think Buddha nailed this quite well in his discussion about right speech, um, and the right speech part is you should always speak what's accurate, what's correct, and what's factual. But the fourth thing that was missing from my I guess my consciousness, my awareness was at the right time. You see, so Westerners, we have this. I'm not going to say Westerners anymore in this case because I've been in Thailand. A lot of problems here. A lot of people doing a lot of sex work in Thailand. A lot of alcohol in Thailand. A lot of drug problems in Thailand.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde society. Like you've got this, like, you know, venerable Sangha on one end, and then you just got like such this dark side in Thailand, you know, like this violent side. So Thailand is certainly not all Buddhist in that sense, you know. You know, drugs are a problem here. Alcoholic consumption is one of the highest in the world here, especially with like Scotch whiskey and so. I was looking at interesting articles on that some time ago. But coming back to right speech, like right speech in itself, like at the right time. See, truthers, we have this thing. Like I used to do it too. It's like an AK-47. It's like, you know, it's like darting the truth out. Like no matter what, at dinner, at Christmas, you know, when you come out of the toilet, at any time, there's no time. There's any time is good time for the truth. You should always know people. There's a time and place. There's a time and place. That one there was so pivotal when I came across that in the Buddhist teachings. That one there helped me so much because it just made so much sense. Made so much sense. But like from my culture, come from my Australian kind of background, Australians are very like that, like in general, right? It's like they'll just smash it in your face at any time, you know.
Yeah.
Just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like your father could die and you say something political and the person just doesn't give a shit that your father they'll just you know, that's what timing is all about, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing that really just gets lost in Western Buddhism is that really whether something is right or wrong depends on your volition. It's
Oh,
like
okay,
two
okay.
people can do exactly the same action, and it's really your mental states. It's like um, they really, in a lot of people in the West just absolutely just do not get that. It's like the classic example is you're walking through the forest and you see a snake trying to kill a frog and the frog's trying to get away, and you can chase the snake away and save the frog. But I mean, if you do it out of compassion for the frog, you've done something good and wholesome. And if you do it out of aversion for the snake, even though it's exactly the same action, you've done something unskillful and unwholesome because it was just the motivation. And so, yeah, that just gets lost. Like the way the left is dealing with microaggressions and so forth, where it's like you are guilty of some kind of sin, even though you had good intentions. You just called the person an Eskimo, not realizing that Eskimo is now politically incorrect, and you have to avoid that word. Or you just ask a foreign person where they're from, and you've just microaggressed. Or even it gets to the point with some feminists where you can offer your seat to a woman on a crowded bus, then you've just microaggressed her through benevolent sexism or this kind of thing. And so it's just this Dhamma is turned upside down with regard to all sorts of things, where because they're interpreting um, Dhamma really in accordance with just Western leftist, really neo-Marxist pseudo ethics, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. And what you just said, like, to me, that's just terrible. Like, that feels like hell in my mind, what you just said, to be in that frame of mind all the time. Like, how do you put, like, is someone downloading every week like the latest microaggression? Like, how do you keep up to date with, like, for example, all the different what's called what is it? Like he, she, like I'm a what, how do you call those again? Like
Pronoun.
identities or something? Huh?
The pronouns.
Oh, right. So how do you keep, like, there's so many pronouns there. Then how do you keep up with all the microaggressions? Like, how do you keep up to date with that? Like, you know what? That just seems like a whole bunch of more dukkha that I don't need to eat for a while. Like, that can just sit over there because, man, I mean, you come over here to Buddhism, people, understand that perceptions are identity. These things are just for this time only while we're in hotel world. So I happen to be someone who's born in Australia from Italian parents in this life, right? Last life, what was I? I don't think about that, right? Then this life, when this shell dies, so goes with it the identity as well, whatever it is. And then I just have to take on wherever I go next. I'm hoping Nibbana, please. But if that's not the case, I have to take form again. And this is where the endless possibilities lie. And this is where this little subtle, meticulous detail is not understood very correctly, is that when we pass away, the infinite possibilities of where our citta will go, what form it will take. What form will it take? Now, if you just sit back and appreciate that for a moment, you'll see you could end up anywhere. Like, in any realm too, out of the 31 realms. And then in the 31 realms, there is a vast, I mean, you look at the insect kingdom, like, it comes, you've lived in forests, you know what I'm talking about, Pano. It's like, how many insects are just in that realm? So, I mean, these things are not taught in schools. These things, a lot of people finding out at the age of 50 and 60, these kind of, these dharmas. But, coming back to what we were talking about, like, I want to ask you a question. What do you think about the sexual misconduct precept? Why do you think people have an issue when you say things like, out of the Buddhist concept, when you say you should abstain from sexual misconduct? Maybe we should explain it. What do you think?
Why people don't like it, I think it's just
Now,
inconvenient.
why they become hostile? As soon as you come to it, there's
Uh,
like a hostility.
I think it's politically charged. You know, they're political first. It's like a lot of ultra liberals. You know, they're ultra liberal first, and then they add a little Buddhist flavoring to that. And so, you know, or like abortion, that would be another one where, you know, abortion just quite literally is murder according to Buddhist ethics, because life begins at conception, just like in science, you know, in biology. But it's become such a contentious issue with the left championing abortion that you know, they just have to accept that, and then they've got to twist the Buddhism to try to fit the leftist politics, because the leftist politics really come first for a lot of these people, and then they just
How
add
did we get
Buddhist
this way?
flavoring.
Like, how did we get this way? I mean, who's sitting on the boards of these education systems at the universities and things and that? Are they all Marxists? I think they all are. They must be.
Well, a
You know,
lot
I
of
think I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's just so nonsensical. This whole discussion, like, and I'm talking about Buddhism. Like, how can you come into Buddhism and start to talk about race, sexuality, feminism, sexism, when the teaching is to totally destroy any sense of identity and enter the wisdom faculty, like let the wisdom come out, the
sure.
not self.
Yeah, and then the
And
Buddha
so,
was living in a culture that was in some ways much worse than ours with regard to like gender equality and racial inclusivity and so forth. But it was
I
like the
bet.
Buddha, when he'd give a sermon, he wouldn't start off by apologizing because his ancestors, the Aryans, had stolen the land from the Indus Valley civilization or anything like that. He wasn't going on membership drives trying to get more dark-skinned people to join the Sangha. You know, it's like punishing the light-skinned people by making them pay more to go to the retreats or something. I mean, none of that happened, even though it was worse in the Buddhist time, arguably. But he was an
Yeah.
enlightened being. But it's a lot of people nowadays, especially in the West, will just say, well, I mean, the Buddha couldn't really have been that way. I mean, it's just been, you know, it's been distorted, because if the Buddha was an enlightened being, then he would be politically correct by 21st century standards. And so that's there it is. I mean, they know better than the Buddha that's recorded in the texts.
Well, 21st century standards. Let's have a look at that. Pornography, drug taking, legal drug taking in the streets, ransacking. It's okay to be a BLM activist and ransack and pillage white businesses.
Yeah, white people.
You know, yeah. But they're not. They're doing it to black people too. It doesn't. They're indiscriminate in their stealing. You know, I've heard. So, but you know, dropping bombs in Palestine, in Syria, all over the place. You know, we've come a long way. We've Now you can have 20 partners, and it's okay to have, you know, 500 partners before you get married or whatever. That's fine. You know, just throw it around as much as you like, and that's what we call progress. You know, I don't know. Look, I bought tickets to that show myself. I understand, but at some point, when you start to grow up in yourself and you start to take responsibility for your happiness and your own destiny, like you start to realize, shit, I'm going to die. So where do I go? You know, if you only realize that, that will create a lot of heedfulness in you, like, you know, for sure. But, you know, I don't know. I really don't understand how anyone can write a book and say, Buddhism is too, what was the title? Buddhism is too white, or this, why is Buddhism too white?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read the book, and I don't think I ever will.
No, it's in the bibliography of that article that
Oh,
is
okay.
I went through that whole bibliography. That bibliography is all an attack, a deplatform attempt at anything Buddhism, as far as I'm concerned. And I just don't understand why the ADL has been quoted in a Buddhist article. I just, you know, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think this needs to be said at least once. So, like, I probably won't talk too much about it again with you on video, that is, for your viewers. But I just want to drive home the point, like people, Buddhism, you want to know about Buddhism, right? It's not about political beliefs are all perceptions. They're just in the intellectual faculty. They're just thoughts that fly in and out, in and out. It's like salt. The never answered question of salt. Like, is salt good for you or is salt bad for you? And how much salt is good for you and how much salt is bad for you? So if, like, I'm nearly 50, so over my lifespan, every 10 years, salt's bad for you. No, salt's good for you. Salt's bad for you.
Yeah.
There are some questions that will never be answered, but understand perceptions and also understand chitta. Chitta has no identity. Wisdom faculty has no identity. That's one of the biggest things Buddha discovered was the doctrine of anatta. Anatta. And one of the basics is like, rupang anatta. The body is not self. So let's just stop there. Instead, we don't have to go so advanced in talk about the other four aggregates, but the body. If the body is not self, right? How can you attune identity to anything else like thereafter? Like, and this is basic Buddhism. This is Buddhism 101. Like, it's not anything advanced. It's in nearly every book on like original Buddhism that you can buy, that you can see, that you can get on the internet. So how from there we can start to say Buddhism is too white. Like, man, there's something else going on here, dude. Now that's the serious part of this video I think we should talk about. Why are they doing this? So in other words, why did China sack the Buddhist kingdom of Tibet? I think there's more sinister things going on. I think there's just a takeover of Buddhism, and I think, I think you're correct. They're really trying that here in East Asia, in Southeast Asia as well. They're really trying to get in, and they're trying to, do this multicultural Buddhism kind of thing. So now what are they going to do? Have quotas? Okay, so how many monks are we ordaining this year? All right, so 5 definitely have to be from Guatemala.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think in Asia, I think the main social justice issue they're working for is gender equality. So it's going to be like fully ordained bhikkhunis, and then it's going to be like transgender bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and the gay rights. I mean, you can't discriminate against the gay people joining the sangha or being monks or anything like that. And I think that's where it's starting, and then who knows where it's going to go from there.
No words.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why are they doing this? Like that's what I want the viewers to question. This is more a question for you viewers. I mean, for me, is why? Like, why? See this. I'm not a negative kind of person, but I'm a pessimistic kind of person. In other words, I don't have much hope in humanity, in the world, because we die, and of my life experiences. So I'm naturally a pessimistic kind of person. Right? But in terms of like this, I don't even know how to put it in words. And I've also lost my train of thought on this one. But look, I don't understand this anymore, because the only way you can conclude something like this, and I'm so hesitant to say it. I just don't. I'm hesitant, but there is something evil behind this. There is only something evil behind this, and they don't have anything good planned. So this is I believe. I think I'm going to just have to say it. This is a warning for white people, or for people who don't partake in Marxism. Be very careful. I think there's a lot of evil intentions behind this, and I don't even think it's. Now that I even think about it even deeper, I don't even think it's really about Buddhism. I think it's just a takeover of religion in general to instill just this Marxist train of thought and to actually genocide white people completely. That's the only thing I can see really right now. I hate to say it, like that took me I was hesitant. I almost wanted to stop the video. Then I was like, but cut, like enough. But really, like, that's what it is. Shit, I can't even believe I just said that. But that's what I think it is. I really think they're, and this is my opinion. I don't want to start saying I read this book, I saw this video, I heard that person talking. No, this is just from my own, what I think in my own mind right now. And that's a perception too, so I could be wrong. But the evidence is proving to be this way. Christians, there's a huge onslaught for white Christians. There's the critical race theory. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about that before I add any more? Because I think I've added enough. This is your show.
It's all just more of the same. I really don't think that I don't think that the genocide of the white race is really part of it. I do think that it's a political issue of just attacking whoever's at the top. And white people are viewed as being at the top because we have created and maintained Western civilization, which has pretty much taken over the world. So, yeah, I think, after white people stopped being at the top, I think that they would just move on to attacking whoever took their place at the top.
You really think that?
Yeah, but I don't think, I agree with you that this really doesn't have anything to do with Buddhism. It's just, it is like social justice or progressivism or whatever you want to call it. It really is just trying to take over as much as it can in order to overthrow, capitalistic European society and replace it with the brave new world of some kind of mutated Marxism.
Yeah, I think so, because that would explain why China just totally destroyed Buddhist Tibet.
Yeah. And it also
Buddhism in China. Sorry, Buddhism in China. Buddhism is their traditional they have a very close relationship with Buddhism in anciently speaking, historically speaking. But there's been a big you can't one of the Chinese emperors outlawed arms round. Like, you can't walk for arms round in China as a monk. That's against the law, for example. So that was like one of the first things. And that's why Mahayana is actually even more practical in China, because the whole donations in China, they don't like group gatherings. So why they would destroy Buddhist Tibet, is it just for the resources, or is because communism just acts that way? Marxist communism just acts that way. It is the religion. That is the new religion. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, the Soviet Union did the same thing with like Russian Orthodox Church. It's just they want loyalty only to the state. They're trying to break down the nuclear family, trying to break down religion, just so that the state is the new god and you owe your allegiance entirely to the government.
I think that's what I think. You know what? I think we've uncovered what the real reason is. I think that's what this is all about. I think just Buddhism is in their way because Buddhism represents freedom. It represents like out of the system, like stepping away from whatever system, taking responsibility for yourself, kind of thing, and also harmonize, being in harmony with the community. And I think that is what they want to destroy. I think they don't want any groups they don't want anyone to have any platforms to do anything like this kind of thing, or to preach different dogmas than what they're preaching. And that's what I think this is all about. Like, really, now after having talked to you, I think that, really, I think that's what it's about. I just don't see, and that also enforces and confirms my question of why would they quote ADL in a Buddhist document, and why would they say, too many whites in Buddhism supposedly, And then why would they start attacking all the other aspects of Buddhism, like feminism, and like bring feminism into Buddhism and all these kind of things, when the whole tenet of Buddhism is not self? When anyone who's Buddhism, when anyone who's Buddhist understands the basics, we're actually trying to get away from the five aggregates. We're trying to not get away, we're unbind. We're trying to unbind from the five aggregates, because the five aggregates are all about self and identity. And that's where the dukkha is. That's where the stress is. So we're trying to come over here to wisdom, right? So that's why that article there, quoting the ADL, which the ADL, do you think the ADL would know any about this, about any of this Buddhist stuff I've just spoken about? Like, how is that relevant to anything Buddhist at all? Or even some of these other books? This Andrew Ward guy, or Ward, or what? Who is he? Like, is he a Buddhist? Is he is he a practitioner? That's the other question for your viewers. Is like, you call yourself Buddhist. It's like a lot of people coin that term too easily. I believe. Like, do you meditate 3 or 4 hours a day properly? I mean, do you sit and not come out of posture, or do you move all the time? Do you sit and you concentrate 3 or 4 hours a day? Do you chant in the morning and in the evening? Do you observe the five precepts, that not refrain from sexual misconduct and refrain from drugs and alcohol as well? And I'll get to the speech part in a moment. Do you practice those things? Are you generous? See, there's no time, as far as I'm concerned, there's no time to indulge in all these other kind of philosophies. So none of it makes sense why they would come out. But the only thing that makes sense is what you said, I believe now, and I'm only repeating it. I think the only reason why they're doing any of this is because they just want to create their own religion. They want to create the communist Marxist religion, and that's what this is about. So Buddhism is in their way for some reason. They're finding it threatening. And I think that that's why the Buddhist kingdom of Tibet was destroyed, not just for the resources, but, because their religion is communist Marxism, and okay, I've said my bit. Now, I don't think I've got anything more to say here, Pano, on this video anyway. Plus my battery is about to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about what I just said? Like, for your viewers, more like, do you see any accuracies in what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why China invaded Tibet, other than, Tibet had been part of China in the past, and China was being expansionist and all that, and wanting as much of the world to be under the communist regime as possible and all that sort of thing. I assume there's a number of factors involved in that. But yeah, got no use for religion, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, I'm not, you can't work it out. But why would you remove a Buddhist kingdom? Why would you tell the Dalai Lama to go away? Like, that's destroying a complete Sangha. You've destroyed a complete Sangha. Why would you do that? Why? I mean, you have your resources and leave the Sangha alone? Of course you can, right? Can you have control of the society and have the Sangha as well? Of course you can. It happens here in Thailand. We've got a government. The government does whatever they want. We've got a king who does whatever they want. The Sangha has very little to do with it. So you can do both. Why would you then murder monks, do heinous things to monks, like what they did? They'd make a monk strip and a nun strip and make them have sex, with, the soldiers were holding guns over these people. Why would you make them do things like that? Why would you do this to the Sangha? Like, why? Right? So there's only one, for that, I can only think of one thing, and that's because you want to instill a different religion. Yeah. You want to destroy that. You just want to have, you don't want the Sangha to be alive anymore because you want to impose your religion on everybody. There's only one reason for that, because you don't have to kill a Sangha or remove a Sangha to have control over the resources of the land. or to rule the world kind of thing. The Sangha can still work with you. There's no problem. But why would you murder a Sangha or oust, try to destroy a Sangha? Is because you want to instill your own religion. That's the only one thing. So I think in a very small way, we haven't gotten to that level yet here in Australia or America. But this is just, I think that's the only reason why they're doing this, to tell you the truth. But why do they got to come and pick on the Sangha for? Like, why? What does the Sangha do that harms society? How do we harm society in any way? Why are they got to come and knock on our door?
We believe something different from what they are teaching.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I mean, it doesn't come down to much else here, and I don't think there's anywhere else to go in this discussion, to tell the truth, with this stuff. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was speech. In the precept, in the 5 precept, the one about do not engage in false speech. In other words, you're not saying anything that's non-accurate, non-factual, and not correct. And you're also trying to find the right time to say such a thing. This one here also, like, deception. Deception's a big thing. Like, they're saying one thing and they do something else. This is a big problem in society. Very big problem in society. So, I mean, these people that are writing the article, there's nothing in there that's right speech that's got anything to do with the correct speech, or what they're saying is anything to do with correct, which has got to do with Buddhism at all. Because the whole article. Now, people, you need to see the article I'm ranting about, because it really ticked me off. Like, it's really sent me into a hyperbolic state, and Paul Parno has to be my doctor for a few hours. But it's kind of like I'm freaking out about it. It's like, see, this right speech thing, or they didn't even know about that in this article. They didn't even follow that. They're quoting from this and that and this and that and this and that, and they're also taking out subjective things from Brian and Pano and Ajahn Jeff. And what I'm doing is I'm standing up. Pano has allowed, for the viewers, Pano has allowed me to vent my frustrations on his channel and on this video, and I thank you very much for that. I know it's been tough. I'm not usually this talkative, I tell you. I'm not usually this energetic when I come to talking, so I'm usually apprehensive and quite withdrawn. But this is the example, people, that we need to strengthen, and this is where I'm going to reach out a little bit. It's kind of like, how do we stop this? How do we defend against it? And how do we protect what's real, what's true? Well, the only thing is that we need to do it individually. I see as a start. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you privately, Pano. Maybe you can tell people what you think about this question. And maybe we finish here because my battery's about to go. What about the scathing, what they're prepared to do to someone who's willing to stand up for what's right? Like, and I'll give the viewers context. So in other words, there was a monk, a Sri Lankan monk, on some charitable board about 13 or 14 years ago, who actually spoke out against this, and the ADL attacked him and removed him from the position. You have to look this up. I'm giving you just the synopsis, right? Anyway, the ADL, and take it from me, I don't lie, it's the truth. You can look it up. It's pretty accurate. But the ADL removed him and called him an anti-Semite because he dared to say that Jewish power at that time is doing certain things. And because he was a monk, and because he was in a high position on some Buddhist association, they removed him. They destroyed him completely. Okay? They defamed him, and they basically took away his platform because he had the right to speak, because he spoke against some evils. Now, this is what we've got to be prepared to do, I think. But how far is far enough? So I asked Pano the question, is like, but what do you do? What do you do if these people actually do deplatform you, and try to remove even the way you earn money because you speak, trying to stay, and I'm not even talking about Buddhism. I'm even just saying, like, if you want to be a conservative.
So that's the question? Yeah, well, I mean, we do the best we can, and you never give up. You just keep trying. And I do have faith in karma or karma that bad people are eventually going to have their karmuppiance, so to speak. That virtue is stronger than its opposite, and that truth will win out in the long run. And you're going to win if you just refuse to give up. If a group of people just refuses to surrender, they just stand up for what they believe in, that's going to make them stronger. And yeah, I mean, if the only guaranteed way of failing is just to give up.
Right. Well, on that note, I think, yeah. So what would you suggest? What would you suggest, Pano, to someone who fears, being kicked out onto the street? Like, this has happened to people. Like, if people have lost their jobs entirely, been totally deplatformed for speaking against this kind of thing. I'm talking about what's really going on in the world, right? What advice do you have for those people, or for someone who's thinking about joining a team of people, or who wants to do something about this, like what to do, the consequences of such a thing?
Well, if you have to take into consideration your circumstances. If you have like a family to support, then that could be a consideration, and you may have to limit what you do within the constraints of that situation. Like if you have a family to support, you just can't afford to have your career destroyed by a hysterical mob of leftists or whatever. Then I mean, you do things maybe anonymously, you do things more secretly. I mean, you do whatever you can. And those of us who do not have a family to support, who really are more indestructible because we have less ways of them destroying us, we can do more. So do what you can. I mean, you got to know your own situation, you got to know your own limitations, and then within those limitations, you do the best you can, seems to me. And just don't give up. We just keep standing up for what we believe in, even if we have to do it alone. But if you can find other people to stand up with you, then that makes it all the more strong.
Wise words. Thank you for that. Yeah, very good. I'm done. I'm cooked. The steak is well done. I got nothing. Yeah. I got nothing more to say.
Okay. Yeah, we did good.
I think I've squeezed the sponge to its limit. There's nothing more. There's nothing. I think we've hit it all. I think we sorted it out.
Yeah.
At least this is dealt with now. We don't know. I don't have to do any more on this. We'll talk about it again. So.
Yeah, we should have some more talks though. Seriously, Bhante.
All right.
And 3 bows to you, Bhante.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not usually this charged. I think also because of you, I think it's your aura, your seniority. I don't know what it is. This is unusual for me. Like, I'm not usually like this. It's weird. It's kind of like all this, like, off the record, right? You don't put this on the video. this you can stop recording now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm feeling like, I don't know. I think it could be a lot of piti, a lot of sukha piti kind of feeling. It's like a feeling. I feel like a rom, or like a ramana, he tu pachayo, a ramana pachayo. Yeah, I think it's also the excitement of finally meeting you. You're like a rock star to me in some ways, because I've been watching your videos. When you watch someone on the screen for so long and you finally meet him, it's like meeting the Beatles, kind of.
Yeah, or at least we're meeting on a different screen.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, Sadhu, look, anytime you you feel like you want to do something, just let me know. I'm going to get to thinking now, because I'm going to try to work something out as to, you know, how I can attack this without bringing too much danger into the Sangha here in Thailand. I freaking don't want the ADL on my ass here. So I've got to work out how to do it skillfully, you know. But you know what? The Thai monks are tough, mate. They don't take shit. So I'm not worried about them. I'm more worried about my own ass, you know. And see, because I got family in Australia and I got family in Italy, and I've got family in America too. I have a son in Wisconsin. So I don't, I've got to be careful what I say, because I don't want any harm or damage coming to them. Because, I mean, I don't think, you don't understand, in Australia, these people, Sam Downer is a perfect example of one of these guys in their club. You're recording.
Yeah, it's still recording.
You're not allowed.
And
This
Sam
is
Downer,
not allowed
by the
to
way,
go there.
he's
This is not
a
allowed to
troll.
go there.
Yeah,
You're
Sam
not
Downer, by
allowed.
the way, is just a vicious troll on the Brian Rue show.
Oh my gosh. That's an example of the old boys club in Australia. I mean, the stuff that this guy says, you know, the stuff that this guy says is totally incredible. Like, how can you say to anybody the things, I'm not even going to repeat them. And they're trying to delete him now off Brian Rue's comment section. And I mean, I tried to attack him myself, trying to maintain a point of, you know, of do no harm. I'm just basically trying to get rid of him. But, you know, these are the kind of people that I'm thinking about. These kind of people, the real sinister types, you know, just to, you know, give you an example of, you know, people got to really wrap around. See, I go the whole extent. Evil in the world exists, you know. You know, these are not conspiracies. This is fact. People get suicided. People get killed for these kind of things. You know, this is serious stuff, people. I'm not joking. I'm not playing with this kind of thing. You know, like seen it happen. You know, my background, man, I've seen a lot of violence. You know, I don't play with these kind of things. These things are real. You know, these people, you know, and I've got an Italian background, and I grew up with some so-called Italian, you know, they used to sell cocaine and have guns and all those kind of things when I was a youngster on the street. I've grown up with that kind of thing. You know, these people are not playing. You know, I've grown up with these kind of people. You know, they're in my background, in my context. Also done a lot of martial arts, and I've done, you know, I've fought in the ring and things like this. So I've been in that crowd of people. You know, these people are capable of doing violent acts. You know, and that's,
Sure.
I guess now what came to mind was the Dharma of the Buddha, where he said, we're one of the arahants. That's right. Who was it? Whereas an arahant said, okay, Buddha, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to teach. And the Buddha says, wow, you're going to that place? The people there are really, really violent. You know that one? Do you remember that one?
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay, so so anyway, and the Buddha said, wow, if you go there, the people are really, really violent. What would you do if they cut your arm off? You know, what would you do if they beat you up? And so the arahant, and so this venerable arahant says, well, I'd thank them for not killing me, you know, and and people don't appreciate that level of achievement, to be able to say that, like, really 100%. You know, like, just take that in for a minute, people, to be able to say something like, you know, the Buddha says to you, what would you do if someone beat you up? And you honestly, and you got the Buddha in front of you, let's get context here. And you say, well, I'd thank them for not killing me. And then the Buddha goes even further. What do you do? What are you going to do if they cut off your right arm? Well, I'll thank them for not cutting off my left arm and my legs. What would you do if they cut off both your arms? I'll thank them for not cutting off my legs. And so the story goes in this direction, right? And then the Buddha at the end says, Good. You're ready to teach. You can go there. You can go there. You know how to deal with fierce people. You know how to deal with fierce people, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think,
fortunately, the people we're dealing with are fierce, but they're not nearly that tough.
don't know, man. I don't know if you have to be tough to kill someone. Do you really think you have to be tough to kill someone?
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
you gotta have nerve, and most of these people are such weaklings that, I mean, maybe they got some courage when they're in a screaming mob, but like if you caught them
yeah,
out alone, they'd just be like peeing on themselves.
but that's why they own the military. You know, that's why governments send military to kill people, and they don't kill anyone. They send the military to kill people. You know, there's these the bullies, these underground thugs that will will beat the crap out of someone if you give them $200. They're all around the place.
Oh, sure.
You know, they're everywhere. You know, you could go to some to some kind of special place. I don't want to point out any. I don't want to give people ideas or insinuate or suggest, but there are certain places you could probably hire someone for $500. I mean, in the old mafia days, you know, they would pay someone $10,000. Have you heard of the Iceman? He's in jail now. Like his stories, the mafia used to pay him like, okay, you know what you need to do? You need to make this guy suffer. Here's $20,000. So what? So what this guy did to someone wasn't the mafia that did it. It was the hitman, right? So this guy ties this person up, right? Binds them up, goes to some place in New Jersey. You can see them on video. Now that you're a layperson, you can watch all the videos you want. It's called the Iceman Tapes, where he's telling us what he's done, right? So he wraps this case got me like so like ugh, but he wraps this person up, right? Ties his arms, his legs, and throws him into a cave in New Jersey. Just throws him into the cave and leaves him there to die. You know, he comes back after a few days. He sees that his eyes were eaten out by mice. You know, and like he could hear shouts of yelling and screaming and things like this. You know, so there are people in the world who do this kind of thing for a living.
Sure.
Actually do. You know, and so this is where my mind takes me because it's just my experience. You know, it's not reading in a book. It's my experience. I've seen it happen. Right. You know, I had a friend even when I was a teenager. I had a friend whose father blew his auntie's head off with a shotgun at point blank range. You know, I know, like I've seen things, I've experienced things. So that's what worries me more than anything, because the mind's intention. You see, like if you want to harm someone, you don't do it with your hands. It's done with the mind. So if you've got a Marxist side, an ideology that totally wants to proliferate and totally wants to destroy anything in its path, and they're willing to go to the extremes of writing articles and attacking innocent people, especially like in this art, the global one, attacking Brian Ruhi, like and you and Ajahn, like why? Why would you like if they're willing to do that on that intellectual level, what have they got going on behind the scenes? I can't prove it, but that's just something that goes through my mind, you see, because these people are evil. So my thing is what I'm getting at with the audience here is be careful. If you want to stand up, do it skillfully, really, really skillfully. Okay, and do it with do no harm. Be careful not to harm yourself, and don't harm anybody else in your defense. If anything at all, defend your action, defend your karma. So later you don't have any bad results or any kind of like the retribution is not bad in any way. It's positive and good for everyone around you. But be aware of the dangers. Understand the implications. Understand what's really going on. So, I mean, this video is supposed to be over, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm talking anymore. I think it's you. I think it's you, pannobhasa.
Yeah, I'll take the blame for this one.
So weird. This is just it's been a weird couple of hours for me. I don't know what's going on here right now. I'm experiencing some like I don't even know. Like it's so bizarre. I'm usually quite and welcome to Dharma. Welcome to my channel. And this is Dharma with Bhante G. Oh gosh. All right, enough now. I got no more. I got to get on with the day here.
Yeah.
But certainly like if you know I'd like you to do more talking as well. More talk. I totally dominated this interview. That wasn't intended, by the way. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, you've been in rare form.
Yeah. I think I've just bitten off more than I can chew. I think I might have to go underground for 3 years to live for the aftermath of this video. Oh boy, I need a smoke. I have one smoke with you and then I'll go, all right?
Yeah, okay.
Oh boy. What have you done to me, pannobhasa? What have you done to me?
Yeah, it's all part of the insidious plan.
No, it's your bhikkhuness. It's your seniority, man. It's giving me such a charge. Can't really. It's weird. So strange. I'm in this charge for like this is like a teenager kind of excitement. It's weird. Bizarre, man. Like it shows some weaknesses in me for sure. You know, still not calm enough, still not steady enough.
Yeah, well, being a monk, you can conceal your weakness.
You're recording. You're still recording.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll turn it off if you like.
Please.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's been fun.